We are exploring. Today we're in Blue Hill, Arkansas, which is about half an hour north of Little Rock, and I'm going to show you Palestine Cemetery. Let's go and have a closer look. I could not find much historic information pointing to the origins of this cemetery located on the Old Wagon Road, now known as Clinton Road, in the Blue Hill area of Pulaski County. Before the Civil War, there were plantations almost everywhere in the rural south of the United States. Plantation cemeteries were places to bury the slaves in pretty much unspectacular graves. There are plenty of unmarked graves at Palestine Cemetery in a pattern which indicates to me that this once started as a plantation cemetery. Very likely, the unmarked graves were originally marked with wooden head markers that decomposed over time, leaving unmarked graves, or they were marked with just sandstone, serving as a headstone in the literal sense of the word. Here in the front there are graves that are marked recently and that date from well past the Civil War. But I'm going to show you the unmarked graves in a minute. Just from the number of these unmarked burials, which you're going to see in a minute, there are 100 or more, you can tell that there must have been a good-sized plantation in this area once. What is now Palestine Cemetery likely had started as a slave cemetery dating back a few decades before the Civil War. In 1871, additional land was donated by Monsignor Gillum to extend the size of the old cemetery to its current boundaries and allow space for a church building, of which nothing remains today, and also to provide room for more burials at the site, near the current entrance gate facing Clinton Road. These were the graves that we've been looking at in the beginning of this video. The oldest identifiable grave dates back to 1865, but the unmarked graves that we see here are likely few decades older than that. It is not possible to say exactly when the cemetery was established, nor when the first interment of a slave took place here. Maybe around or before 1830. But we can't know that for sure. It's not documented and just based on speculation. In some recent efforts, simple welded steel rebar crosses were put up to mark the unmarked burial spots, but this only marks the spot of the burial and does not restore the identities of the deceased, nor does it get us closer to the answer of the question when this cemetery was established. You can still see the indentations in the ground where people were buried in wooden coffins, and afterwards the soil caves in. Here, look at the number of graves in this area of the cemetery. The graves are lined up close to each other, and I'm really paying close attention to where I'm walking so that I don't accidentally step on a grave. Here in the distance, behind the trees, you see a farm, but here in this area there are more graves marked with rebar crosses. And as I said earlier, I didn't count them myself, but that's from a documentation of this cemetery, and the person documenting it counted 100 or more unmarked graves here at Palestine Cemetery in Blue Hill, Arkansas. There's going to be a part 2 to this series in which I'm going to tell you the story about Polish settlers in the Blue Hill area in Pulaski County, Arkansas. May everybody interred here at the cemetery rest in peace. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it.